Hey guys, it's Emily Schaller, and you're watching the Roxy F. Boltcast. Before we get started, there's a few things we need to go over. First off, nothing on this podcast should be considered medical advice. Medical advice should only come from your doctor. Views expressed on this podcast are solely opinions of the guest and not necessarily opinions of myself or the Roxy F. Foundation. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of the Roxy F. Boltcast.
This episode of the Roxy F. Boltcast is sponsored by Vertex Pharmaceuticals.
My name is Steph Hansen. I'm 33 years old, and I'm from San Antonio, Texas.
So walk us through your diagnosis with cystic fibrosis, what you've been told by your parents and those around you. When were you diagnosed, and kind of how did it come about?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed at 3 years old. It was mostly like GI symptoms that tipped my parents off, not so much like the lung disease just yet at that point. And it was chronic, like GI issues for months and months, and then it took like a solid 3 months to get a diagnosis. We had to like fly to a different state and everything because nobody could diagnose me where we were. I come from a military family, so we were on a little military base, and we had to go up to Bethesda to get diagnosed. And yeah, so that was at 3 years old, and my lung stuff didn't really start until I was like teenager-ish, like adolescence. We started airway clearance, you know, I had to lay across my mom's lap until I was like 16. And then even before it was really communicated to them, my parents, you know, tried to get me outside and running around and really active from a really young age. I think they just kind of like knew that that was going to be good for my lungs.
But I think it's cool that we can talk about like the old CF, right? Like we needed our parents to be with us to do these treatments, right? And now kids just at 6 months old have a vest, and they don't need a parent over them beating them and making sure that they're doing the treatments and on top. So it's like, it's cool that we can talk about it, right? So these decades that we've lived with CF, they've changed so rapidly, but old school CF was classic.
It's nuts, and I think that it like is such a like evidence of like how far we've come, you know, because like I remember being a young adult or like an adolescent and my parents being like, well, you can't go away to college, you can't do these things because you're going to need us to do your treatments every day, or you're going to need like somebody that we trust to do your help you do your treatments every day. And then the vest came out, and it finally like it offered like an independence, you know, something that I think a lot of CFers before us really struggled to have. So I feel lucky to kind of have seen it all and be part of that evolution, you know.
I want to get into like exercise and how active you were as a young kid. And we said earlier your parents were like, okay, go play, right? Go outside and play and exercise. Do you think that is what prolonged your hospitalizations and first, I guess, until you're a teenager?
Yeah, I think that definitely played a factor. And then I started in middle school playing basketball and stuff like that. And then in high school I played golf, which doesn't sound intense, but it really was in the summer of, you know, Texas summers, and you know, you got to carry your own bag. That's like 50 pounds on your back. It was intense. And I had this really intense coach who made us like 3 times a week, 7 a.m. come work out. He made us run 3 times a week in the mornings, and then we'd go to practice in the afternoons and stuff. And I mean, I don't know if it's anything to brag about, but I was the fastest girl on the golf team, so I always outran every girl and some guys on the golf team.
I'm making you a shirt that says fastest girl on the golf team. That's ridiculous.
I'll laugh your ass if you're on the golf team.
I will laugh your ass, right? We'll run these 18 holes real quick.
Exactly.
Oh, that's incredible. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you, thank you. So I take great pride in that even today.
So what are you doing beyond to stay healthy, right? So like a cold or a virus for you could turn into an exacerbation, and then you're complicated with drug allergy for, you know, a virus then turns into a lung bacterial infection. What do you do above and beyond your treatments to try to stay out of the hospital and stay healthy?
I went through a little bit of a rebellious phase when I was a young adult. I went from being pretty active in high school to going off to college, and I was like, I'm going to do whatever I want. And the physical activity definitely dropped off. That was not a priority for me. Neither were my treatments. So the physical activity didn't really get picked back up until I was maybe like 21 or so, and I started going to the gym and just running at tracks and stuff like that. And I was never like super good. I could never go for very long. I could maybe do a couple of miles here and there, but it made a huge difference. And so I just started running for years, and then I met my partner and she was into cycling, so I started cycling. And then while I was in the gym one day, I got asked by one of the people who worked there, he's like, hey, I'm like putting on this weightlifting class, like, would you like to come? And I was like, yes, I want to learn about weightlifting. In a world that I'd sort of always been told, like, oh, you're weak, or you're not super strong, or been, sort of treated that way. Weightlifting made me feel really strong, and people, for the first time, I got compliments about how strong I looked, not how sick I looked. So that was really meaningful and impactful for me, and I really wanted to just keep up with that. I think that's like where my love lies right now.
When I was going through it, I didn't think I was going to be alive. So like I still would run and bike a little bit and started doing my treatments, but I still didn't like foresee a future, like long term. Did you struggle with any of those thoughts?
The big thing for me that I've had to learn and learn again and again is sort of this idea that like just do what you can with what you've got. I think it was maybe 16 or 17, and sort of realizing for the first time, somebody said something about life expectancy. They like asked my mom about my life expectancy when they learned I had CF, and then I went to the internet and did a search myself, and I was like, oh, well, that sucks, and that's when it really hit me. So, but like I think that's something I've kind of chronically struggled with as an adult, is especially an adult who has not, over the last like 10 years, been eligible for any modulators. People in the community, and then like other people who might not be as familiar with CF, they see this like, well, 90% of CFers have access to this incredible thing, and all these different modulators, and they're living totally different lives. So like, great. But I'm like, no, but like the work's not done. I'm just doing what I can to stay healthy now so that I can keep advocating, I can keep opting into these things. And like, I'm grateful, part of me is grateful to be part of the 10%, because like, I'm the person that's never struggled with talking about my CF. I don't shy away from it. I'm not afraid to educate people. I'm not afraid to tell you how I feel and how difficult it's actually been. So yeah, I'm grateful that I can step up to the plate.